Just the other day, I was shocked to hear my 8-year-old son say, North Korea is a bad country. I think he probably thinks so because he reads the news in the newspapers and on TV. But when I heard what he was saying, I couldn't help but feel that he was hostile towards Koreans themselves. So I told him that the problem was with a certain group of leaders, and that most people are not bad people, and I remembered a drama I watched when I was in the first year of junior high school. The story begins more than 70 years ago, when Japan was colonizing Korea. A young doctor named Yamanaka was working as a military doctor for the former Japanese army in Pyongyang, Korea. When Yamanaka finished work and was walking around the neighborhood, a woman with a 10-year-old boy on her back was knocking on the door of a local doctor with a desperate look on her face. When the doctor showed up after being called by the nurse, he said, "What, you don't have any money? I don't treat poor people," and kicked the mother, who was kneeling and begging, out of the way. The mother had already walked a considerable distance, and perhaps exhausted, as she broke down in tears at the sight of her son in a daze. Yamanaka, seeing this, said, "I'm a military doctor, but I can't turn a blind eye to sick people. Come over here for a second," and took the 10-year-old boy back to his house to examine him. The boy's cold had worsened and turned into pneumonia. Yamanaka gave him an injection, took some medicine, and the boy recovered after about a week. The mother, who was praying and saying in broken Japanese, took her healthy son and left. However, Yamanaka never saw the mother and son again. 10 years later, after the defeat of the Japanese army, those who were unable to escape were captured in Korea, and many were executed. Yamanaka was among them. He managed to get his wife and children on a repatriation ship and returned to Japan, but he could not abandon the sick and wounded soldiers, so he stayed behind. Yamanaka was on the verge of being executed. Yamanaka was wrapped in ropes and dragged to the execution site. The image of his wife and children flashed in his mind, and he prepared himself for death. A Korean soldier who was accompanying him and carrying a gun peeked at Yamanaka's face. He then had a conversation with his superior. The superior said in fluent Japanese, "I hear you're a doctor? Our army has a serious shortage of doctors." After saying this, he made a visual signal to the young soldier from before. Yamanaka was taken by the young soldiers to a car and taken to the hospital. When they were alone for just a moment, the young soldier said in halting Japanese, "Doctor, you saved my life." Yamanaka stared intently at his face and remembered an incident 10 years ago. That young soldier was a boy carried on his mother's back 10 years ago. Yamanaka worked at the hospital for about a year and was able to return to Japan. Yamanaka worked as a private practitioner in Osaka until he died at the age of 80, but it is said that he never turned down an emergency case.